I have a lot of growing up to do. I realized that the other day inside my fort.
Grab a chair, messy with this and that. It's my podcast. This guy's insane. Rock your brain. It's just a sound. A Steve here about.
Schmack-a-magob. It's another Vieira Vault, and I got with me Brutal Brian. Hi there, Brian.
Good to be back. How are you?
Good to have you back. I'm doing pretty good, dude. Brutal, I've known you since when? 2009, maybe?
I think so, yeah.
You're a young kid back then. Now you're in your 40s. Amazing how time flies.
I know, right?
And I think I met you in the Culture Room, right? Maybe at some show.
No, it was at the Culture Room. It was my first local show ever. I was 12 years old.
Wow. What show was that?
It was the first Made of Metal show before they were called Made of Metal.
Do you remember who they were doing tribute to that night?
It was Dio.
Oh, yeah. I think Thrash and I played that, right?
Yeah. It was the first time I saw Thrash or Die.
Wild. Yeah, and I remember soon after you did a video on YouTube of you playing a Thrash. Was it No Pose Allowed?
It was No Poses Allowed. It was the only song on that demo that I could play on drums at that time.
Right. And you had kind of like electronic drum set back then?
Yeah, but I tried playing the other songs and they were way too fast. I was too young and too new.
And now you can do them because you played them all in Columbia.
Yeah. Now it's still pretty intense stuff though.
Yeah, some of it's in challenge. Like I know Fist Fucking Metal is very challenging. That one's crazy.
I have a lot of fun playing those songs. I really do.
Yeah, what?
I have a lot of fun playing those songs.
Yeah, it's a fun band, man. We're like the most casual, lazy motherfuckers ever, but we kick ass. I kind of think I know how you got into metal, but you confirm it for me. Was it your dad?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I had a lot of conversations with your dad, and your dad would tell me stories about L'Amour's East and the shows he would see there, TT Quick and stuff like that. So I figured, yeah, which is cool because a lot of people, their dad turns them on to music and they're like, fuck that, man. I'm going to listen to Eminem. You know what I mean? But
yeah, that was never me.
So
no, it was his record collection.
Right. Did one band stick out more than the others when you were a little kid?
It's hard to say because as long as I can remember, it's always been everyone,
Right.
It was before I could even form memories. I was like I already knew all these bands as commonplace, But it was a lot of AC/DC, a lot of new wave of British heavy metal. But I would say the band that made the impact on me, which really changed my life, was Anvil, because that made me want to play the drums.
Oh, Rob Reinhardt.
Yeah, Rob Reiner is the most underrated drummer of all time. Absolutely amazing powerhouse drummer, and I owe it to him for making me want to pick up the drums in the first place.
Right on, man. So you were saying like before you can form a sentence, so you were hearing all this shit was when you were a toddler?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome, man. Your dad rules, dude.
Yeah, he does.
Your dad is total metal, and I always found that cool. It's like, here's his dad taking his young son to these concerts. And I was always like, man, who are these guys? And so then you formed the band. I remember the band too. It was what was the name of the band? It was like, I know you want to be metal, but whoever the guitar player was in that band did black metal riffs.
It was right? Frostbite.
Frostbite, that was it.
The thing about that band, it was me, some other kids from high school, Uh, and we were a thrash band. I remember what song you're talking about. There was one song with a very black metal riff in it, but like anybody's first band, it was just no structure, no, it was just jamming, and it was everybody's introduction to music.
Right. But yeah, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And then soon after, you formed a band with me.
Yep, that's what I consider to be my first real band.
Yeah, Combat, which
Yeah.
a lot of people did Combat, man. There's a lot of people online that are always harassing me for new Combat and get this shit done. It was a lot of fun forming that band, but we did have, some problems with a certain flaky guitar player. and I'm not talking about Ryan.
Yeah.
I'm talking about somebody that's definitely not listening. And he's a good guy. I have nothing bad to say about him. But, man, it was just one day I said to him, hey, we haven't rehearsed in a while. This Thursday we booked rehearsal time. Dude, I don't want to do it no more. Like, what? And we've had some great shows. And then we had this one show we played where there wasn't a guitar chord for two guitar players. Remember that show?
Yeah, in Hollywood.
Yeah, we played Hollywood, and I believe it was Damien on stage air guitar while Ryan was plugged in.
Yep.
That was insane. But we did release an EP, and it's still out there, right? Isn't it on Bandcamp?
No, it's on Store Envy.
All right, we're gonna have to add that link. You're gonna have to send me that link.
Maybe I'll put the Combat CD up on the Midnight Spell Bandcamp or something.
All right. Well, either way, by the time this airs, check that link below. That's where you can get the Combat EP. I highly recommend it. And we have a lot of other songs. I think we have the best song called Dismay that hasn't been recorded yet that needs to be done. And, after the pandemic, after Thrash or Die, I mean, me and Brian talked, man. We want to get that Combat out there eventually. Don't know how long it's going to take. We do have to find some new players. Hopefully we can get Rich. You don't know what's up with Rich, do you?
Rich is playing in a country band.
That's right. You showed me a picture. It's like a bunch of old dudes and him, right?
Yeah.
And he's a great bass player.
He is a tremendous talent for sure.
Yeah, and he's a good guy too. And we just got to find some guitar players, which, shit, I can open the door right now and throw a rock out the window and hit a guitar player. It's drummers and bass players are the hardest to find. And, of course, I mean, extremely hard to find a singer as good as me. Come on.
Yeah, I agree.
So, all right, so then you formed that. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, after that you formed the band with Yngwie's son, or was there anything before that?
No, that was the next band from Combat. It was a band called. Well, we went through a few different incarnations. We were originally known as Prophet. Then we kind of became a few different things. I think the band kind of had a bit of an identity crisis.
Yeah.
But we ended up, kind of becoming like a old school sounding 70s style hard rock band called Wool.
That's the one I saw. Wool.
Yeah, and we played a few shows here and there. Never quite got the band off the ground, I think we were on different pages at the time, the members, and we could never really quite make it stick. So that kind of faded away. But I am jamming with him again. And,
you are?
Yeah. So maybe something will come of that, hopefully, in the future, because he is an absolutely amazing guitar player.
He's Yngwie's son, but he doesn't play like Yngwie.
No,
he has his own style.
Yeah, he's definitely his own person and his own identity, and very, very, very talented. And I'm very fortunate to be able to play with him.
Great voice too, man.
Yeah, he doesn't sing in this new band, but he can really sing too.
Well, that is unfortunate because when I saw you guys play live, he sang Stormbringer so good. I
Yeah.
was so impressed with his voice, and he's a good guy, man. I like Antonio. He's a nice person, and then because I figure because your association with him, you ended up playing with his dad, Yngwie.
No, I wouldn't say it was because of the association with him so much. It was more the fact that I knew uh, his
Nick,
keyboard player, Nick,
right?
but they needed a drummer last minute at one point in 2018, and I guess I was an easy, obvious choice, who could step in, and so I filled in for what was supposed to be one show because the drummer Mark had an injury and was couldn't play for a while. I was only ever supposed to do that one show, but I just started playing. I did that one show, and then they had asked me to come back, and here we are, over 2 years later.
Yeah, and you've toured the world. You played like China, right?
Yeah, we played China, Israel, um, Malaysia.
Damn.
I don't even know. It was a lot of places, man. A lot of places.
Mexico, I know.
hmm Too many to keep track of.
So how nerve wracking was it when you first started playing with him?
You know, I had known I had known Yngwie loosely, just because I knew his son. So I didn't think it would be that crazy. I was already used to seeing him, and I had also actually toured with him before as his merch guy.
That's right. Yeah, that's
Um,
right.
so he and I already knew each other, and but I gotta say, the moment I stepped on stage when it was showtime, and I looked in front of me, and there's Yngwie, nothing prepares you for that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about when I asked that question. It's like how nerve wracking, like that first show.
Yeah,
You
and I
know,
mean, and we didn't rehearse either. It was very last minute thing.
really.
hmm
Do you guys ever rehearse?
Not really, no.
Not like maybe sound check?
Yeah, that's about it.
Huh. So when Ingve says, "Look, this is a set list," you got to go and listen to those records and play like the records. Not, I mean, that's the only way you can learn them, right?
Yeah, pretty much. But I mean, I'm pretty familiar with most of it by this point.
Right. So yeah. So no, but there was a band before Ingve. Hellwitch.
Of course, yeah.
Hellwitch. For those that don't know, I mean, this is like a very, very historic band, and I think they're way ahead of their time. Because the first time I ever heard of Hellwitch was when I saw them open for Anthrax in 85, 86. I didn't know who these guys were. I went to go see Anthrax. And then I see this band. And I was like, what the fuck? I mean, this is like predates really death metal. But they had that. And I mean, it borders on death metal vocals, but it's more musically like brutal and very, I mean, honestly, dude, I always considered you a killer, kick-ass drummer, but I think playing Joe Witch's part like took you to the next level. Would you agree?
I would agree.
Yeah, because that music is very hard to play. I mean, I could just tell by being an audience member. What those guys do is like extremely tight, extremely complex, and very fast. You know.
Fast is right. Fast is right.
And did it take you a long time to catch up, or did you get it right away?
Well, they first contacted me to come try out for them when I was 18,
Mm-hmm.
and it was. I mean, when they first contacted me, I was like, I can't play that, but I can try. I said, give me 2 weeks, and I'll get familiar with a few like 5 songs, and I'll give it a shot. And they later told me that uh, when I told them I would learn 5 songs, they just said okay, but secretly they were laughing, like that. There's no way, because everybody says stuff like that, but almost nobody actually follows through.
Right.
And I walked in and I started playing, and obviously I didn't nail them perfectly, but I had the structures down, and I was able to get through like 4 or 5 songs, and not at full speed or with everything completely ironed out, but I could get through them start to finish, and it just kind of progressed from there.
Well, and you guys did a lot of touring, right?
Well, they were definitely my introduction to touring.
Right.
We never toured quite as much as I wanted to,
Mm-hmm.
because as long as I can remember, I this is what I wanted to do with my life, was play music and record and tour and just repeat that cycle. Um, but they're an older band, and they all have lives outside of the band,
Right.
and so whenever I tried organizing bigger things, it was logistically really hard to organize. But we did a good amount of touring. Nothing out of the United States, but it was my first introduction to the road for sure.
Yeah, and so okay, so but did you guys tour out of the states? I mean, out of America?
No, no, it was
Oh,
just it
okay.
was just the United States. Um, we did a lot of East Coast stuff. We did stuff in Texas, some Midwestern stuff. Um, Finally, later on, uh, in 2018, we got something lined up to play in Malaysia,
Wow.
and I was like, finally something out of the United States. And then that's when I got the call that uh, to play for
Yngwie.
Yngwie,
Right.
and I was stuck with a pretty difficult choice right there. You know, I mean, I had been extremely dedicated to Hellwitch, up to that point, but at one point it became a question of what's gonna hopefully further my career, you
Right.
know, and it just became a chance I had to take, you know. So unfortunately, I didn't get to go out of the states with Hellwitch ever. Maybe one day we will. The band's not really active right now, unfortunately, but hopefully one day we'll be back and hopefully be stronger than ever.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you may have joined Yngwie, but you still were in Hellwitch,
Yes,
at the same
yeah,
time. And shit, at one time you were in Hellwitch, Yngwie, and Thrash or Die.
yeah. Sometimes I don't know when to say no, but
But I mean, not
I
to,
like to play, man. What can I say?
yeah, I know. And 'cause I have to bring this up because of my huge ego. I mean, Thrash or Die has always been a band that you've loved.
Yeah, that was also like, how could I say no? You know?
That was yeah, and I mean, you were in the talks of. I never told you this. I probably told you this later on, but when we had remember Mini Thrash, right, the guitar player in Thrash or Die. When he was in the band, I think it was before Marquez and after Caesar. I brought you up. I said, because Mini Thrash, our guitar player was like 17. You were like 16, 17 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I told Willie, I said, dude, we should get Brian Wilson, and Willie said, dude, are we a band or a daycare center?
I love that story.
So that's why it fell through. But now that he's not in the band anymore, it was easy to bring you right in. And that was a very awkward time when you joined us because I don't even remember how it transpired, but we had to play Columbia for
Yeah.
some reason or another. And Marquez, I believe, either had health issues or something. And I remember Marquez was against it. Like, no, you guys ain't playing Columbia. And the promoter was going to lose a lot of money. And he was like coming down on us. And then Marquez called me one night yelling, going, do Columbia with Brian Wilson. I don't give a fuck. Do it. Do it. I'm sick of this shit. Just do it. I go, okay. So I got a hold of the promoter and I said, okay, we can do it now. And then the promoter announced it. And the next day, Alex yelled at me, what the fuck, man? I go, you gave me the permission. And then he said, yeah, but I was drunk. I was like, hey, man, whatever. And we did talk in depth about it, if you want to listen to an earlier episode where we had all the Thrash or Die on. But, man, it was such a fun time in Columbia. But there was one thing that was really horrible about it was you got really sick.
Oh yeah.
Was it claustrophobia or?
No. It was car sickness.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I had never been out of the country before that point. That was my first time, and nothing could have prepared me for the roads in Colombia. Beautiful country, but
Yeah.
man, those roads, nonstop twisting and turning through those mountains.
Yeah. And remember, we went and we stopped in the mountain to eat and some little shack that was like, serving food. And remember, when we were eating there, like cars were zooming like inches from the plate where we were sitting.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, this thing was like right on the road. I mean, anybody could have crashed right into us. It was a wacky ass country, man. And we did play a show before the festival, which was Mount Negro or some shit like that, which is kind of unique. Rio Negro, that was it. And, maybe 30, 40 people. And, just to warm up. Because I think we only played one show at Churchill's before we went to Columbia. And
I never played, but not with me.
Oh, that's right. Marquez played that show because that's when Poochie and Gio joined the band. We only played one show, but your first show was in Columbia.
Yeah, and we prepared we had 2 weeks to prepare.
So we did practice a lot, I take it.
Yeah.
Right on. And then, man, man, I got to bring this up about Brian. When we got to the show, that band Gilman, what was it again? You were the one that told the promoter, I want my setup like this, right?
Yeah.
And then Gilman said, I want that setup or something, right? They were going to fuck us.
No, I was asked to, provide a drum rider with my specs, and I see a drum set, the band before us was playing, and underneath the drum riser, I see exactly what I asked for.
Right.
And I assume it's mine because it's exactly what I, preferred, and I provided the list. And then I was told Gilman came in beforehand and claimed it and said no one else can touch it. And that didn't quite sit well with me.
Oh, I remember. You were screaming at the promoter, this is bullshit. This ain't professional or some shit like that.
Well, yeah, but it was.
You had every right to, though.
Yeah, I know, but I guess Gilman were headlining above us, but still, it wasn't right of them to do that. And what they had provided me with was nowhere near, the same quality. And I said at least give me some things off of that drum set, and they met me with that. And then when when Gilman was playing, I was watching them and they were kicking ass. I have to admit, they were
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah, they were good.
Um, in between one of the songs, they're speaking in Spanish, and I don't speak Spanish, but I do understand some words, and I heard Baterista del
Yeah.
Thrasher Die, which I know is the drummer of Thrasher Die, and they said something about me. What it is,
Uh,
I'll never know, but they said
yeah,
something about me.
I remember when that happened, you came up to me and asked me, and I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, I wasn't paying attention." You know, I wasn't listening to what he was saying. But yeah, it was very. And
He made us late too, remember?
we waited in that van for what, like 40 minutes
Yeah.
for him to come downstairs, which was bullshit. And it was very. I mean, the guy was total prima donna asshole. And but all in all, we did a great set. You
Yeah,
know,
it came out great, for sure.
and I prepared it where I had the intro is going to be the Jaws music, and I had the intro to Zombie Assault, an intro to whatever, and the way I planned it was I was going to have the iPod with all the intros on the amp, and I go behind the amp, I press the button, but they couldn't do it, so I had to have the iPod in front of me, like right on the mic stand, like on the floor, and I remember there was. I remember during the set while I'm talking, I stepped on it by accident, and,
Yeah.
and the iPod went on saying something, and I was like, "Oops!" And I got down, I turned it off, and then there was certain parts of the song, like when we were in the song, I would like act like I would fall to the ground on my knees, but really it was the cue in the iPod. It was such a bobo thing, but it didn't really catch on. But yeah, I was my own sound guy, and I mean there was a lot of disastrous, like stuff that could have happened, but it ended up not happening because the setup with your drums, the setup with my iPod, it was just all these like roadblocks we had, and yet we did a blistering set. It was amazing. I mean, it was like 8,000 people, right? It was so many people there.
Yeah, there were a lot of people.
And I mean, was that the biggest crowd, or did you play for bigger crowds with Yngwie at some point?
Um, it's hard to say, honestly, at this point. I definitely have played to crowds of that size with Yngwie, though.
Oh, okay. But it was, I mean, it was a rush that I'll never forget. And I mean, we did have some hard times in Colombia, but overall, it ended up going fine. I mean, and not to bring up like past members because I respect them all, but that lineup that played Colombia was the most drama-free fucking lineup. It was weird, being anywhere with Thrash and I with no problems. I mean, internal with the band because we all really did get along. Nobody was bitching about nothing, and everything just ran fine. It was just I thought it. I mean, with you getting sick and all that shit, that was external, but
Yeah.
everything within the band, we really did click. And dude, I can't wait to work on the next album. I mean, you don't know this, but I have 4 songs already for the next album. And I was just talking to Dan today, which, by the way, next week, being released next week, it's been worked on since 2012. The No Pose Allowed cartoon comes out next week.
I
And
was thinking about that the other day.
yes, I just spoke with Dan like 3 hours ago, and man, he was telling me because the beginning of the video is Jason. You're the guy you played with in NZM,
Mm-hmm.
and Dan was telling me, dude, he's a little kid. He's a little kid in this video drawing on his desk, and then the drawing turns into the video, zooms in on the paper, and I've had clips of that cartoon for years, but it's actually done. There's just a little minor things. Dan told me that he said it's going to be done this weekend. It's finally going to be released, but I don't even know why I brought that up. But yeah, there's finally going to be that cartoons coming out next week, which features the original lineup in cartoon form. Yeah, we're a very crazy band, but I look forward to I mean, and you know how I am, Brian. I'm kind of like, dude, I know your dreams, and I know what you have with Midnight Spell. I know what you have with Yngwie and Hellwitch and all this shit that I try to make that your priority. I want Thrash or Die to be, dude, join us to keep your chops up. You know what I mean? Like when the album finally comes out, fuck touring, man. We'll tour when you can. When everybody in the band can. Because my whole thing with Thrash or Die is, it's more of a labor of love. It's not a, career thing. Because my career's, I'm already retired. I get a pension check every month, so it doesn't really matter to me. But I do want to continue Thrash or Die. In a way, I just want this to be the last album. I want 3 albums, the most. And I'm really glad, dude. I'm really proud to have you in the band, with all your credentials and shit. I thank you for putting in your time to be part of this,
Well, you're too kind, Ralph.
Well, it's the truth, man. I mean, and we've been through a lot, dude. We had Combat, and we had the Columbia gig, and and I know all the hard work you put into your stuff, and there's no way I want to interfere in it. I want you to do your thing, but at the same time, I want a Thrash or Die album with Brutal Brian on drums. I mean, that would be the ultimate, and I think it would cap off, this band. And I have a feeling, man. I have a gut feeling it's going to be the best album yet, especially with the songs I got. I mean, I have some really cool ideas, and eventually a Combat album. It would be fucking awesome. So you have like you've made some friends being on the road, right? Like some cool band. Like I know one of them's Night Demon.
Yeah, I know as a Night Demon.
Oh, and fuck, how could I forget this? You were the drummer for Enforcer on the tour, on their last tour. Now, tell us how that happened.
It happened just like anything else. One day you get a message or a phone call and say, "Can you play drums for this band?" And one day Olaf sent me a message and asked if I'd be interested, and I was like, "Of course." And I think he knows, and as a lot of people who know me also know that Enforcer is like pretty much my favorite band.
I knew that before you were with them, so that's why I'm saying you must have at least like gave my heads up, right?
I mean, I already knew Olaf before that.
Oh, okay.
And I think he knew how big of a fan that I was. It definitely was no secret. But yeah, when I got that message one day, I was like, oh, there's no saying no to this one,
Right.
And it was actually an incredible case of the planets aligning, in my favor too, which never happens. It's really hard to commit to something months in advance because Yngwie likes to book things, which is fine. And so it's always hard, committing to something, because you always have the chance that Yngwie could book something, and I can't say no to that,
Yeah.
I'm obligated to do that. And he contacted me like 8 months in advance, and there was another drummer or something that was gonna do it or something, and right before the tour, that tour happened, he contacted me again saying, the other drummer fell through, and so the door's open for you if you want to do it. And I'm like, well, shit, I got to do a tour with Yngwie at the same time.
Oh.
And it hadn't been announced yet, though. And then that tour ended up falling through.
Oh man, that's awesome.
And
I didn't know this.
And that's how, as I said, the planets aligned, and it left me wide open to do the Enforcer tour. And I still look back on that was over a year ago now at this point, which is insane to think about. But that's a very, very fond memory for me. And I was supposed to do some more stuff with them over in Finland, and right before the pandemic hit, I almost if it was a week later that the travel ban hit, I would have been stuck in Sweden.
Oh, you got lucky.
But
You would have been stuck in Sweden and not been able to play any gigs.
yeah, yeah. So, but I hope I'm sure one of these days we'll do something together again as well. You know, but I have to say, it just felt right playing those songs.
And I was lucky that you guys got to play down here. And where's O'Malley's located at?
Margate.
Yeah, you guys.
That's from my house.
Yeah, look at that. 15 minutes from your house and about 2 days from my house to drive.
No, but it was such a great time on the road, playing with them, and it goes back to I saw them first. I discovered them when I was about 18 years old, and it was when I discovered them that planted the seeds in my head, for what I wanted to have in a band, and here we are years later, and I have Midnight Spell, which I can't lie. I don't. Not that I think we sound like Enforcer. I don't really want to sound like any one band or any band for that matter. I want to sound like us.
Right, and you do.
But
you do have your own sound.
But everyone has their influences for sure. There's no denying that. It's how you take those influences and manifest them, I think, that sets you apart from other bands. And but I have to say Enforcer is definitely the main inspiration, at least for how I do what I do, and so to actually be asked to come in and play for them, even just filling in live, is incredibly special to me. So
that's awesome. Any of those shows when you toured with them, did you end up with like a soundboard of any of those shows?
I did actually. I have a few of them.
Nice. That's awesome, man.
I don't know if they'll ever be released, but I do have them.
That's great. You got you toured with your favorite band and you have some soundboard. Not a lot of people can say that, Brian.
Yeah,
and,
I'm very grateful for that.
No, and it must feel really good, like, because the scene down here. Man, I remember when all that shit was happening. Everybody down there was so proud of you, because they all knew, how much you loved Enforcer. I mean, it was Yngwie's, such a bigger, artist. He's historic. He's a legacy act. But I think more people were impressed with you being in Enforcer than Yngwie, And I got to see you with Yngwie once. What was the name of that theater in front of Radioactive Records? You know what I'm talking about? The fucking.
Yeah, I know.
I saw that show.
I can't think of the name either. It's in Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah, and played Your Ships Are Burned. I remember that. That was awesome.
I love playing that song.
Yeah, and you love play. I mean, Yngwie's fun to play, right? All that music.
Oh, of course, it's a blast.
Yeah.
I mean, how could you not enjoy that? Yngwie's a legend. Right. I grew up with his records just as much as anybody else. Just as much as any other band I grew up with. So, it's an honor to be able to play those songs as well with him.
So you were booked to play just one show with Yngwie. Then what happened? They said, "Hey, look, we're going back out." Is that how it happened?
Well, I think the drummer before me, his injury ended up being more severe, and he was out of commission for longer than expected. And then I was told we got more stuff booked, So I don't even remember being asked if I wanted to do it. I just remember doing the one show, agreeing to that, and then like a week later being given basically an itinerary and said, "This is where we're going. See you at the airport," or something like that.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, now you're speaking my language.
And 2 years later, you're still, before the pandemic, you were still, even like briefly before, you were doing the Enforcer, right? before the pandemic, or were you still
No, no,
doing?
no. The Enforcer was in 2019.
Okay,
Uh,
this
the, the last show I played before the pandemic was in March. It was in Mexico, and it was with Yngwie.
right. That it's a really wild story, man. I mean, and now you got your own band, your own project, which you must be like the most proud of. The
I am,
Midnight
I
Spell show.
am, I am very, very, very proud of Midnight Spell. I mean, obviously, I look at playing with Yngwie and playing with Enforcer, and even playing with Hellwitch is, huge accomplishments for me. I hold all those experiences very, very close to my heart. But um, in Midnight Spell, I built from the ground up, and it was my vision. It sounds exactly how always wanted a band to sound, and so I think I am more proud of Midnight Spell than anything else, for obvious reasons.
Right,
Just
because
because that's my
it's your
baby.
baby. It's your baby. And next week, Brian will join us on the VR Vault where we talk about our top 10 um, new wave of British heavy metal bands. And plus, by next week, it'll be released because it's coming out on the 8th of January. Am I correct?
You're correct. On Iron Oxide Records, the album's called Sky Destroyer.
Yeah, and we'll get more into depth about that next week, and we'll promote the hell out of it. And you guys need to hear this. We're gonna play you something from it next week, but
And there is a single out on YouTube right now. There's a music video. It's called Lady of the Moonlight. So check that out too.
check out Lady of the Moon Knight. It's a great video and really well done by our good buddy Chris Briggs. Right?
Yep.
He directed it and did all the setups and shit for that.
He filmed, directed, edited.
Some of it's in a graveyard, right?
No, it was like woodsy kind of area.
Right. It kind of
Across the
has like
street from a
grave.
graveyard.
Oh, it's across. Yeah, I know it had a graveyard feel to
Yeah.
it.
I guess it's supposed to be hell, you know.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's really well made. It's a really cool song. So check that out. It's up on YouTube right now. And join us next week where you can order it because I'm going to have a link down. But for now, I don't know if there's anything. Is there anything we should put up a link for on this episode? Anything you'd like to promote that's out there?
By then I should have pre-order links.
Okay. All right. So we'll have some pre-orders. We have some pre-orders in the links below, and it's been awesome having you, bro. So join us next week when we talk about our top 10 new wave of British heavy metal. That's a very, is that like your favorite form of metal, the new wave of British heavy metal stuff?
Yeah, I mean it's what I grew up with for sure. Growing up, that was a very, very big presence in what I listened to. And definitely had the most influence on me.
Right on. And you are a touring dog. You tour a lot with Yngwie, and what you do in Enforcer? Was it just a U.S. Tour?
It was just a U.S. tour, but man, it was 50 plus shows with no days off.
Wow, that was amazing, and it was amazing when I saw you guys. It was such a blistering set, and was that toward the end of the tour when I saw you guys?
We still had 2 weeks left after that.
Wow. But it was cool. It was a great show, great time, and check out Enforcer if you've never heard them. Check out what's Brutal Brian's favorite band. It's good shit, man. And so, dude, I mean, thank you so much for being part of the Air Vault, and we'll be here next week, man, to fucking talk about new wave of British heavy metal and more details about Sky Destroyer from Midnight Spell that you guys need to check out. Check out that video, and they also have on YouTube the EP, right?
Yes, you can hear it. It's a demo. EP, whatever you want to call it.
And you can get it. We'll have a link below where you can order that as well.
Yes, on our band channel.
Very awesome EP. And dude, I'm proud of you, bro. You did it, man. You fucking did it. And you got on a label. I mean, that's mind blowing. You know? That's some great shit. And it's coming out on cassette, I believe, vinyl and CD.
Yep.
All of it. So pre-order it now, man. It's in the links below. Trust me. I've had it for a while now. Brian sent it to me like a few months ago, and I've been sitting on it. And I haven't played it on my radio show or none. I just been playing it in my car. I dumped it in my iPod, and I man, that album smokes. It's definitely, and I'm on it. I do some backing vocals on some of the tracks.
If you turn over the back of the album, it'll say additional vocals by Dr. Fuck.
Does it really?
Yep.
Oh, shit, dude. That's awesome. Now I can sign it, too.
Yep.
All right, Brian. Well, dude, it's been an honor, man. And join me next week, dude, when we talk about the new wave of British heavy metal.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
No problem, dude. Anytime. And schmack 'em a gob, Brian.
Schmack 'em a gob, Ralph.
Hell yeah, Brutal Brian. Be sure to join us next week when we talk about our top 10 new wave of British heavy metal albums. It's been already recorded, and it's awesome. Like Brutal Brian. Guy rules. All right, everybody. You want to hear some of the stuff me and Brian has done in the past musically? Then you're going to want to follow me into the Vieira Vault. This week in the Vieira Vault, I'm playing something from me and Brian's band Combat. It's a song called Perfect Enemy, and I'll give you a little backstory on the lyrics to the song. I wrote these lyrics at the same time I was being stalked by an insane baby daddy. From a girl I was dating, the baby daddy went so far as to actually get on somebody's balcony across from me and spy on us from a balcony from a building next door. Now, I don't know how he got in that building, if he knew must have known the people. But yeah, he said Batman was in the balcony, which was our little dog at the time. You know, he liked being out there. And he would just look at us. Very strange dude. And there's a lot more involved in the story. I mean, the guy was a complete and utter pickle whistler. And, but I'm no longer with the baby mama. So, hey, I got to hand it to him. He had a baby with that psycho. But I don't talk bad about my ex-girlfriends. Even though I just did now, I wish her the best. But whatever. She's all right. But this guy's a douche, and I wrote this song about him. It's called Perfect Enemy.
Nothing's fair. All
my God, I rule! And so does Brutal Brian and Damien, Night Prowler, and Rich. Combat Rules, we got to get that back together. If you want to order your EP, and let me tell you something, I don't think this will ever be repressed, so if you want to get it, the link is below. Get yourself a copy, and you can also get a shirt, some other stuff there. It's, you know, a little merch store. I think we have 2 or 3 things for sale. And believe me, if you like what you just heard, which I know you did, I mean, how can't you? You're going to want to get this EP now. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Don't forget, next week, here on the Vieira Vault, Brutal Brian joins me as we talk about the top 10 new wave of British heavy metal albums. And plus, by next week, by the time you're hearing this, Sky Destroyer from Midnight Spell will be out. And I'll have pre-order links for that. So you're going to want to have to get that. I told Brutal, I don't want no freebie. I'm buying it myself. And I'm going to pre-order that vinyl once that pre-order goes. This episode, I recorded a little earlier. It's still 2020 over here, December, but it's going to air. This one's going to air the week before Sky Destroyer comes out from Midnight Spell. And next week, it'll be out already. So order it and order the shit. Order it all. Fuck it. I mean, there's nothing like physical copies. Am I right, people? I mean, are anybody out there, you just download shit and you don't buy stuff and you get stuff for free? Stop listening to me. No, I'm just kidding. Especially if you're listening to me right now. You rule, man. Whether you buy physical copies or you're a fucking scumbag thief, I still love you. And again, thanks to everybody who shared. Damn, I haven't checked the iTunes reviews. But soon I'll be doing something different. I'm going to be talking about comments on the YouTube videos and other places. Because I realize a lot of people are sending comments to iTunes and it's not airing it. Because I've gotten already 3 people telling me, man, I keep trying to leave a comment. It won't let me. So, hey, man, leave it on YouTube on a certain episode. I mean, it has to be a recent episode because I'm not going to go back and look at all the old episodes. I'm going to start doing that, reading your name on the air and showing my appreciation and the deep love I have for you. Swear. Even if you were... Hey, look, I'll put it this way. I love you all so much that if I was a girl, no, I still wouldn't have sex with you, but I'd hook you up with my hot lesbian girlfriend. Grrr. Thank you for listening, everybody. Schmack-a-magob.